So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's event seminar. We're so pleased to have so many people from so many different disciplines joining us today, and it's been wonderful to see the interest in this topic. So I'm Dr. Samantha Siambalapitiya. I'm a senior lecturer here at Griffith University, and most of my research focuses on culturally responsive practice, and I'll be your chair for today's session. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the various lands from where you are joining today and from where I'm joining today. So I'm joining from the lands of the Kombumerri peoples of the Yugambeh Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, including any who may be attending today or watching the recording later. And that is a picture of Southport Spit, which is from the lands of the Kombumerri people. So I just have a couple of things to run through. You're all familiar, I'm sure, with online meetings, but I got muted as well. So it would be great if you could turn your mics off unless you're speaking. We will have opportunities for questions along the way, and we would love to see your face and hear from you at that time if you wish. This is a safe collegial space, so all questions are very welcome today. And we have prepared a Padlet. I'll just post that now for you. So this is a Padlet where we would like you to post any questions that you have for the presenters, and you can access that via the link in the chat or via the QR code that is there on the slide or in the chat. And this will allow us just to keep all of the questions in one place and to help with the discussion later on. So you've already received this program for today, the schedule, but I just wanted to briefly touch on why the focus on these professions that are presenting today. So actually, today's event came about quite fortuitously. It was Lauren who's going to present in the first presentation, and I were told we should have a chat to each other because we're doing similar research. And we did, and then we were aware of other people who were doing similar projects, and we thought, wouldn't it be great to just get everyone together and maybe do a sort of an event and try to connect with others who have an interest in this space. And so that's how today came about. And we have 4 presentations for you. And each of the presenters will introduce themselves and their research teams. We may have time for 1 or 2 questions as the speakers transition, but we've allowed a little bit of time at the end for a bit more robust discussion, hopefully. So the 4 projects that will be presented today are at different stages of the research life cycle. So we have Lauren, Lisa and Marianne discussing data that they have collected. We've got Fiona presenting preliminary data from her systematic review from her doctoral studies. Annie is very excitingly, nearing the completion of her PhD, and so she will be sharing tips from her doctoral research. And Amanda's going to be overviewing a project in its early stages and giving you a bit of a review of the literature relevant to that area. So just as some brief background to today's topic, I'm sure many of you will already be aware that Australia has a very rich history of multilingualism, with around 500 languages spoken in Australia pre-colonisation, and you may be familiar with the Indigenous language map that's on the slide. In modern Australia today, we have 1 in 5 people approximately using a language other than English at home, 400 plus languages spoken, and 27.6% of people were born overseas, so almost 1/3 of the population. So in that context, it's very likely that health professionals and other professionals in Australia will interact with patients, colleagues and students who come from different cultural backgrounds to their own or speak different languages to themselves. I wanted to touch briefly on terminology. This is something I've been thinking about myself as someone who does research in this area, and I'm encouraging as many of us as possible to think about this. There are more and more papers coming out now that say that maybe we should be moving away from the label culturally and linguistically diverse. And this is one example. And we won't go into the details today, but one of the reasons that they point out in this study is that the label of cultural and linguistic diversity, CALD, actually homogenizes diversity. So it kind of defeats the purpose that we're aiming for. That doesn't mean there's a perfect solution to how we speak about interactions between people from different cultural groups, but something I've been reflecting on is terminology like multicultural. We live in a multicultural society in Australia. Cross-cultural is where we start to look at how different cultures relate and compare, make comparisons between them. And I guess what would be nice to move towards is intercultural. So understanding more how those interactions occur between cultures or can actually be, an interaction that derives from the different cultures involved. So yeah, just a brief note on that. And I'm going to stop sharing my slides now, and we will have Lauren, Lisa, and Marianne do the first presentation.
Thanks, Sam. I'll go ahead and share my screen.